I get a lot of questions about my story, and up to now, I haven't actually shared it. So, starting today, we're going to get to know each other, and I'm going to start with the beginning of my story. Hello, my name is Tanya Bell. For all my life, I've been a singer, a performer. I've had the privilege of singing with some of the most incredible players. I worked in Nashville for many years with some incredible funk players, choreography, three outfit changes a night, just dancing and singing our hearts out. Um, it's been the privilege of my life to have this talent and this gift, and it has been the highlight of my life. So basically, and especially anyone who knew me, but especially in my little hometown, that's really all anyone knew about me. That's all anyone really saw of me was my stage persona, the stage Tanya, the one that was always on point, the one that was always smiling, the one that was always laughing. I never went out of the house without my makeup on. I never went out of the house without looking decent or nice or whatever. And that's all anyone ever saw. But nobody really knew the girl behind the smile. Just another typical, I guess. It's what happens to people in Hollywood. It's what happens to comedians. They're always smiling and laughing and on point, but underneath, there's a completely different story happening and going on. And that's basically what has happened in my life. I've been kind of, for a long time, I've been kind of embarrassed and ashamed of my story because it is embarrassing. It is not pretty. It's not, it's not a story that anybody wants to tell, but it is my story, and it is me, and it is who I am. And I'm in a season in my life where I just can no longer wear the mask. I can no longer be the performer. And that's part of me, but that's just a part. Singing and performing and all of that is just that. It's performing, it's acting. And I've always been really good at it. But I'm being called right now to be authentic. I'm being called right now to reveal myself and to be honest and to share honestly and openly, so that it is my hope that my story and the things that I've learned and the journey that I've been on will help you and help others, so that maybe you don't have to spend as long a time in the dark, wandering around in the dark without answers. You don't have to do that like I did or as long as I did. So again, my whole life I sang in, and it was the joy of my life. Frankly, the two real loves of my life have been God and music. I've always been curious, even when I was a little girl, going to the Free Methodist Church in St. James, Illinois. I wanted to know this God that everyone talked about, that I learned about in the Christmas play. I have had ups and downs in my life spiritually. I have believed and I have lost my faith. I have been found and lost again and found again. And I didn't know that you could be lost and found and lost and found. But that's part of the process. And this is the process that I want to share with you. Just part of the process. Currently, I'm a life coach and a wholeness educator. I am taking the information that I learned very late in my life, unfortunately, and I'm sharing it with you so that you don't have to. My story starts not well, necessarily. You don't know that you live in a toxic family or a toxic environment. I mean, you know at your core, at your deepest core, you know that something's wrong. But when that is your normal, and that's how you grew up, I'm going to try not to cry. When you grew up that way, and it's just how you live, you're just immersed in it. You don't know that there's anything wrong. you don't know that you're living in, differently than anyone else. I mean, you can see it in people's faces when they come to your house to visit, the few times they come to visit. But you don't know that that's not what happens to everyone. And my story even probably isn't worse, than other people's. There's always somebody who, who has it worse, or, I get that, and I know that, and I understand that. But I want to share with you my story. So my family has always been toxic since I can remember. There's always been screaming. There's always been cussing. There's always been fighting. There's always been just all of it, just all of it. And I remember when I was little, my father, who I did not really know that well, I didn't have really much of a relationship with him at all, was basically a ghost. He would just be quiet and hide in the house, while my mother, who was completely on the other end of the spectrum, was very intense, a very intense presence, a very controlling presence in the house, in the home. And basically everyone, moving around her, skirting around her, making sure that she was, okay, she was happy, she was pleased. I guess that's where I began my journey of people pleasing, of learning to shrink so that I stayed out of the way, so that I didn't get hurt, that I didn't get, just stay out of the way, keep your head down, keep it quiet, keep everybody around you happy. And that is also when I learned how to read the room, where I began to scan the room for what energy was happening in the room that day. And that's also, I guess, where I learned to fawn, to keep people quiet so that I could stay safe. I am not disrespecting my mother. I want to just make that perfectly clear. My mother is gone now. And I know, especially now, I'm so weepy right now. I'm trying not to cry. I know now that she did the very best that she could. Without knowing what I have had the privilege to learn. And I thank God that I've had the privilege to learn the things that I've learned, because to leave the earth without understanding what's happening in your body, physically, psychologically, emotionally, survival, from a survival system angle, from all of it, as a whole human being. Most of the time we don't look at ourselves that way. We just focus on what we're trying to get, what we're trying to accomplish, and we don't even think about the science of the body and what's happening every day, every minute of every day in the body, and how we are interacting with other people every minute of every day in the body, energetically. We don't even know what's going on, what's happening. We are walking blind. And the other thing that as I continue to share with you a little bit more about me, the thing that I think has just blown my head straight off my shoulders this past 2 years, as I've really been drinking from the fire hose, especially these last 2 years, is that you can be a woman of a certain age. You can have lived on this earth for 50 something years, and you can be emotionally intelligent, you can be spiritually hungry and curious, and you can be well educated and smart, and you can be perceptive and wise, and you can still be utterly asleep. You can be, I knew the Bible. I knew a lot about the Bible. In fact, I was a Bible student for a long time. I knew a lot more about the Bible than most. And I used to teach Bible at my house for a long time. And I knew a lot about the Bible. So you can be a Bible scholar, you can be a praying man or woman, you can be all of it, and still be in a deep slumber, completely asleep, completely blind. And that is what happened to me. That is what happened to me. I thought I had a good beat on everything. I thought I had a good handle on everything. And I probably did, as compared to most people. Most people are sleepwalking through their life. Most people have no clue what is actually happening in them and happening around them. And I find that so sad and tragic. So I will tell you this about my family life, just as a kind of a quick wrap up to this first video. We did find out that my mother was bipolar when she was about 70, when it was way too late. And our whole family had been basically ravaged and ruined and shredded over the years. And we all were basically shells of human beings because of this constant, chronic, back to back toxicity that was basically the theme of my life. I'm not saying that there weren't good things in my life. There were good things, and I still have the capability to smile, and I still have a wicked sense of humor, and I'm still intensely happy to be on the earth. But it does make me very sad to know that all of that time was wasted and all of that pain that I carried for so long was so unnecessary. It was so unnecessary, all because my body was trying to tell me. The whole time my body was giving me opportunities. Every time I would get smacked down with something, my body was trying to tell me, spiritually, energetically, the survival systems in the body is always speaking to you, and it was trying to tell me, take this opportunity, look within and heal. Look at these patterns. I'm trying to show you something. And every time I just would ignore it, and I wouldn't listen. And part of it was because of ignorance. It was because I didn't know that there was a part of my body that was working and functioning in ways that I had no idea about. I mean, I knew I was a body. I knew that I was, I know that there's a spiritual, there's a spirit. I know there's a soul. I mean, what's that part? What's the difference between the soul and the spirit? Which one's which? And how does it apply to me? And does this have anything to do with why my heart is, I just want love and joy, and I just want to experience all the beauty and things in life, but for some reason, there was just all of this shit, this darkness, this crap, this toxicity over and over, and I just couldn't figure out why. You can't help but feel like you're being punished, but you're not. And so this begins my story. My mother was bipolar the whole time. Nobody could get near her to even get her to go to a doctor. You couldn't tell her that, once we finally figured out that something was wrong. We knew something was wrong, but as it got worse, I became middle-aged, and the family was basically torn apart, and I had a new dad. I had a stepfather, and by that time, once I started looking finally, like, something's wrong here. I have to figure out, like, this isn't normal. And I started researching and things. And by the time I got into my 40s, and I started researching. How do you can't tell somebody that, hey, there's something wrong with you and we need to go have you checked out, especially when they're, like they're prone to just go into a frickin' fit and a rage. And so we didn't figure it out until she was 70. We had to actually have my mother committed. And bipolar, undiagnosed for a lifetime. And all of us, the victims of that, the on the other end of that. Now, my mother did a lot of beautiful things for me. If it weren't for my mother, I wouldn't have been fed. I wouldn't have been clothed. I wouldn't have had, glasses. I wasn't an easy child, I'm sure. I was an expensive child because I was blind basically from the womb. But my mother, still my mother, love her. But so much pain, so much hurt, and not necessary. These things don't have to be your life. If you're experiencing any of this stuff, and you can relate to any of this stuff at all, please don't just suck it up. Please don't just push it down. Please don't just try to endure it. That's basically what I did. I can tell you all about endurism. Endurism is not a healthy way to live. It just means that you can pack it down and you can pack it down and you can pack it down and you can carry it around. And all the while, it's eating you alive inside. You think it isn't. That's what suppressing does. If any of you have been watching any of my videos, you know that I have been suppressing for a long time, trying to survive. Suppression is survival, period. It's survival. And if you think just because you're not thinking about it, just because it's not on your mind, that it's not affecting you and it's not eating you alive inside, it is. And your survival systems and your subconscious system is trying to get your attention, to tell you, I can't pack this around. Will you please process this and get this up and out of your body and up and out of your energy fields? Get it up, get it out. The body is meant to process emotions, all of them, and that includes the hard ones. Again, my name is Tanya Bell. I am a life coach and a wholeness educator. Just stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing a lot more with you about my story, and I'm so excited to be sharing this with you. If you have any questions or if you are in need of help along these lines in any way, please reach out to me on my social media.